So welcome to our first annual demo day, but with our second group of LookUp innovators. So today, after 5 months of work developing their ideas that they presented in our showcase back in January, we have the exciting day ahead of watching these groups present their ideas. So one thing that's really going to be fun is each group will be watched by sharks who will give them feedback, not as sharky as Shark Tank, a little gentler, but we also will have the Grit Award for the team that hit a roadblock and then successfully pivoted or overcame their challenge, just as all entrepreneurs occasionally or frequently do. We have an Impact Award to the team whose solution is most likely to improve youth mental health. And then our Founders Award is to the team with the best overall pitch, one that clearly articulates and graphically presents the problem, their solution or MVP, key milestones to date, and plan for the future. So welcome and get ready for a really exciting day.
Greetings, everybody. Session 1 is a very special session stemmed out of our partnership with The Social Dilemma, really helping us ask young people the question this year, as Susan mentioned, through the competition, thinking about how might we be able to better use, design, and regulate technology so that it benefits, as the Center for Humane Technology says so well, people rather than just profits. And in somewhat of those words. So what we have this morning are, we have 2 groups this morning. Unfortunately, Hannah Chung, who was part of our on our terms team, she broke her ankle last night and is in a cast, but she's going to be bumped to the end of the day. So this morning we have 2 teams, Team Asmbl and Team Legislate, and that they'll introduce themselves. I just want to do a quick intro of the sharks as well. Today with us, we have David J., head of mobilization for Center for Humane Tech. He's also the founder of asexuality.org, the world's first community of people identifying as asexual. And he regularly advises social movement leaders, including some of ours. He was one of our guest speakers in our leadership lab. He's an amazing person, and we're proud to partner with him and the Center for Humane Tech. Harry Key is with us as well today. He's actually a Dartmouth grad and he's the CEO and founder of Motion, a time management software being used by companies all across the country. And he's been involved with venture partner funds and also as a quantitative trader. And he is also a shark at our showcase in our early days. And he understands the value of pivoting and how what that does with companies and how important it is. So we're looking forward to hearing some of Harry's great questions. Samantha Bolton is with us as well. She is a Geneva-based communications and advocacy leader. I've known Samantha for almost 20 years. She doesn't credit herself enough, but she was one of the main drivers behind the Access to Medicines campaign, which did an incredible job of driving down the prices of HIV medicines. So she basically, along with Medicines Sans Frontières, the World Health Organization, and others, took on the big pharma companies to change their business model so that they can benefit more people through more affordable drugs and with TB drugs as well. Jenk is a young activist, change activist, social entrepreneur, and founder of Thread Media. He was introduced to us by Bob Wigley, who is the author of Born Digital and also one of our sharks today. Jenk is just an inspiration. If you've ever heard him speak or you ever have the opportunity to hear him speak, please do that. He's all about mobilizing young people, and it's all about Gen Z. So I'm going to turn it over to Team Asmbl first, whose mentor, just one quick word here, through the LookUp program, the grant winners are assigned these amazing mentors who they work with over 5 months to further refine and develop their ideas. And Assembl's mentor was Julia Hoppuck, who is the impact producer for The Social Dilemma and Exposure Labs. So really excited about that. And then Team Legislate will be speaking as well, a group out of Dartmouth College and Merrimack College, and I think now Boston University. They'll explain that. And their mentor was Fergus Cullen, who is the former chair of the Republican State Committee in New Hampshire and highly active in local and national government, then you'll understand why that was such a great fit for them as well when they speak. But I'm going to turn it over to, I think, Alma, is it going over to you?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much, Julie, for that amazing introduction. We're so excited to be sharing our progress with all of you today. So I think Chloe is going to screen share our presentation. Okay, wonderful. All right, well, hi everyone. I'm Alma. I'm the CEO of Asmbl, and we are a student-founded network for activism. So really, we're trying to create the tool that we wish we had, a safe, centralized, and accessible online space to organize for change and really learn from each other. We honestly hope to become the hub of on-campus organizing, inviting college-age activists of all backgrounds to connect with each other and community organizations. So Asmbl was really founded as our team of student activists faced personal frustrations with the social organizing present on for-profit platforms. Misinformation ran rampant and hate speech was under-moderated, mostly because it made platforms more money. Tools to manage events and fundraisers were disorganized because activists were trying to utilize apps that were just not designed for their objectives. Specifically, we were struck by one encapsulating a story. As grassroots groups in the Bay Area attempted to organize a demonstration against Facebook's privately funded police force in Menlo Park, the protest was actually hosted as a Facebook event. How was it that there was no other alternative? Really, student-age activists have an unprecedented ability to connect with each other in a new informational age. Yet, we've really lost trust in the platforms that host us. As Gen Z, we have relied on these social media apps for socialization, self-worth, and learning about the world around us, while these apps have manipulated us for financial benefit. Beyond the moral misalignment, though, these apps were just not designed to host a social revolution. Consider a story like Maria's. The performative and addictive nature of Instagram and TikTok allowed false information to spread like wildfire and prevents users like her from finding reliable, grassroots-sourced resources through her networks. For someone like Brian, he represents activists on campus who are forced to use 3 to 4 different apps to recruit and coordinate club members and efforts. We really feel our users' pain points very closely. We've had our feeds silo out information that solely follows what our closest held and expressed beliefs are, preventing us from expanding our perspectives. We and our families have been directly harmed by the spread of misinformation. We've had friends targeted by police after getting their data leaked. The problem posed by for-profit social platforms is very real to us and very personal. Our solution comes from just as personal of a motivation. We want to provide tangible tools to our activist users and address their real pain points directly. We want users like Maria to be able to not just access petitions, but learn from her network on how to engage with local politics and issues she's unfamiliar with. We want users like Brian to feel safe in attending protests and sharing information without fear of ICE infiltration, and for him to recruit students to his clubs and campaigns through a streamlined and centralized mechanism. Asmbl is going to provide all of this and more. Diverse grassroots organizations and nonprofits that would traditionally have no method of communication will connect with each other to collaborate on shared objectives. We are first and foremost prioritizing creating a safe and easy-to-use platform. We know our mission and our product will continue evolving as our users' needs and problems evolve. But as a mission-driven platform, we will morph with sole loyalty to our users and with a concrete commitment to protect and uplift them in a new age of activism.
Hi, I'm James, and I'm the CTO of Asmbl. Our minimum viable product, set to be released for beta testing in July, is centered around the sharing and discussion of resources in different communities of activism. Users will be able to create detailed infographics using the Canva API or upload resources of their own, and every post will be backed up by credible sources linked online. The focus will be placed on building your activism network through respectful discussion instead of racking up followers or likes, like on our competitors' platforms. Beyond the MVP, we will be rapidly iterating features centered around doing. This means users and organizations will start hosting events, broadcasting fundraisers, signing petitions, and recruiting for long-term projects, all on the app.
So while our development team works on pushing out these incredible features, we will be busy conducting our comprehensive beta testing program this summer and expanding our team to include critical roles such as Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and a Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We've also launched an intensive needs finding campaign to inform the development of our full product launch during this summer. And really looking ahead, we will be able to integrate all of the data and feedback gathered through beta to begin development of our full app come early fall. Simultaneously, in order to maintain our incredible momentum, Asmbl will focus enormous energy into fundraising in the next few months, which will enable us to hire a full-time team of engineers as our team transitions back into being full-time students.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm Asmbl's Chief Operating Officer. So as we grow, we are planning on utilizing mainly nonprofit networking strategies to propel our growth. We are being very intentional about our partnerships right now, as these are the groups who will be the pioneers of Asmbl's growth. Our foundation includes 25 activist influencers who we've built relationships with through our social media strategy, and about 20 nonprofit partners who we plan to welcome onto our app upon our public launch as early access organizations. We really plan on advertising Asmbl to their followings, attracting their volunteers and youth audiences onto Asmbl. We are also exploring other strategies of marketing, such as TikTok and initiating an Asmbl's ambassadors program. We really believe that we're entering this market at exactly the right time, as no one else is doing what we are doing. Since the rise of mainstream digital activism in May of 2020, online advocacy has maintained a relatively stable level of engagement. We truly believe this is the new normal, even as pandemic restrictions lift and activism and organizing goes back to in-person events. We believe the bulk of organization and connections will be made online. We've explored other options. There's one other platform that is structured as a nonprofit, trying to build a social media for activism, but truly they just haven't built up the traction in student groups, and they aren't very relevant on college campuses in the communities we are trying to target and serve. Our largest competitors are honestly our indirect competitors, apps such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But as we've discussed, these for-profit platforms are simply not built for activism. So we, on the other hand, are building our product completely centered around our users at every stage of development. So since our founding, we've conducted continual needs finding surveys of our peers to deeply understand our users' pain points. We've received incredible support for our cause and really have just been motivated by how clearly people want this idea. We have a near 100% retention rate in those who have expressed interest in beta testing to those who have signed up. And we currently have 75 out of the 130 beta testers signed up that we hope to host for our beta testing program. There's evidently an enormous market recognition that an ethical social media platform is needed. We are targeting Gen Z activists, many of whom were at the forefront of the largest social movements of the past few years, in order to tap into this market.
Since we've kept our external facing costs low, we've managed to kickstart this movement with a small amount of early round grants. In the future, the majority of our revenue will come in the form of individual donor gifts, foundation grants, nonprofit partnerships, and targeted fundraising campaigns. For the MVP, we're doing all of our development in-house, which cuts down on costs significantly. Additionally, we have access to free app server hosting, database access, banking, and legal help through our partnerships. Much of our costs in the short term will come from our extensive needs finding and beta testing programs, with labor costs steadily increasing as we onboard more team members to scale up for our final product launch.
So really, just as existing as a nonprofit social media platform and challenging the extortive business model of the last decade, we've already created a change. Young people will be benefiting from Asmbl regardless of our virality. And even if a few hundred individuals on like 2 campuses use our app to plan a revolutionary event, we will already have succeeded. In the future, we see Asmbl as a space where youth leaders can take initiative and increase involvement in politics on all levels. We envision our app being a starting point for young people to take charge of their local politics, an area where youth is weakly engaged. They will inspire each other to run for key positions, challenge archaic and damaging local laws, and set new precedents in their communities. We really envision our growth to take us far, especially with the community support of our users.
So up until this point, Asmbl has made a lot of progress that we're very excited to share with you all. We're set to complete the development of our MVP on July 3rd, which will be beta testing starting mid-July. We've tripled the size of our team and formed an official advisory board of 12 experts from diverse professional backgrounds. And we have also secured 5 corporate sponsorships, including 3 pro bono legal engagements, and I think 2 years of support from AWS and 3 years of free banking from Silicon Valley Bank. And additionally have raised upwards of $7,000 in scholarships and grants.
So we have an incredible team of 15 who have been working day and night to advance Asmbl's mission, and we're continually growing. We have open positions in marketing, development, field organization, financial planning, and product testing. So if you're interested in learning more, we have just dropped our application form in the chat, and you can always message us with any questions you have. So in terms of how you can help, we need to fundraise $250,000 by the end of the year to finalize product development and onboard a team of professional coders and cybersecurity experts. The most tangible way you can help right now is if you run or are involved with a nonprofit, please take 2 minutes to fill out the link that just was dropped in the chat. If Asmbl refers 5 more nonprofits to one of our partners' competitions, we will win $25,000, which will allow us to hire a full-time programmer to build our app in the fall. So we're also asking for any introductions you might have to nonprofits, NGOs, or clubs on different academic institutions. Additionally, if you know any individuals or foundations who would be interested in donating to Asmbl, please put us in contact. We are actively building our donor community. Additionally, we're looking to add to our board of directors. So we're mainly looking for experts in marketing, cybersecurity, and corporate law, and are asking for introductions to individuals you think would be a good fit, so we can proceed with a mutual evaluation process.
Alma, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to have to cut you guys off there because we're already 3 minutes over. And
sorry about that.
That's okay. Are you all?
Yeah, last thing is we're dropping a link in the chat if you want to sign up for our beta testing program. We're looking for college age activists of all backgrounds. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Perfect. Okay, so if you can share your screen, and we'll bring the sharks up. And for the next 7 minutes, the sharks will ask you guys some questions that you can answer. We will also put a gold sheet for all of you in the audience. This is your chance to, you've received the briefing books. But this is a Google form. If you want to help out any of these teams from the first session, this will be your time to do that. And so we'll turn it over to the sharks, and we'll get that info in there for you.
I'm happy to start unless anyone else wants to jump in quickly, if everyone's happy with that. Firstly, I just want to say I think your idea is brilliant. I think it's super well thought out, and I love what you guys are doing. I think it's a really great cause, and I think it's a really good idea. I think my first question is in your description, which you sent out earlier. You said that quite often the concept would be of shared values of the company. So that would kind of imply that everyone would have a general kind of, everyone's moral compasses would be slightly aligned. And I feel like on topics, I think it's pretty shared value, it's pretty well accepted that something like white supremacy is bad. Like we're all on the same line there. Whereas something like, especially predominant in America, something like the difference between pro-choice and pro-life, for example, there are strong moral arguments for both. And I feel like you'll have people on your platform who aren't always along in the same way. So the concept of shared values, appreciate for some things, everyone's kind of in the same direction, but in some ways that aren't that. So how are you going to, are two opposite values, like how would that work?
Very good question. Thank you for asking this. This is something we've thought about a lot, kind of who are we making this platform for? You know, like, is this going to be a space for everyone to come regardless of their political affiliation or their beliefs and engage respectfully with each other? Or is this going to be a place really built specifically for people who are focusing on progressive causes and social justice advancements? And we have decided that it simply isn't up to us. We have in the same way that Facebook has failed to serve their users and has failed to come up with regulations on their content that accurately and safely creates an environment that people can engage on, we cannot impart our own political opinions on this platform. We really want to make Asmbl a place where users are creating the environment that they are interacting in. So we are trying to do that with a number of different features. I think the most exciting of which is probably our community moderation that we are starting with our beta program. So we are coding in functionality for users to be able to report a post and then either agree or disagree with the post. And then based on who is engaging with that information, we're planning on building a community of Asmbl ambassadors who come in and moderate the information that's being shared, or rather what information is being reported and taken down. We're taking a lot of inspiration from like Wikipedia on this in terms of kind of a community approach to hate speech moderation. Alma, James, do you have anything to add to that?
No, let's move on to more questions, I think.
I have a question. So let's make this more of a conversation instead of a question and then you answer. So obviously, I think the cause is great, the vision is great. It's a real problem you're trying to solve. Like I saw a very big like team page. Are there like student developers in your team right now?
Yes, there are. Actually, James is essentially building our MVP single-handedly, but we also have recently graduated students and undergraduates right now that are working on the MVP.
Okay, so why do you need to hire a developer? Why do you need like external developers?
We've thought a lot.
I can talk a little bit more about that. So for our final launch, we have a lot of ambitious goals. We really want to implement algorithms that encourage intersectionality as well as like hate speech moderation. And for that, we need engineers' experience with algorithmic design and machine learning. So like for the MVP, I am sufficient in like just coding out like the front end of the app. But as we scale up and like want to include these more ambitious features, we're going to need like a whole team of professionals to come in.
Like if you are a CS student who knows app development,
yeah,
just work on like the algorithm, like all of that, like it almost, I want to say, does not matter. Release the beta out to like students ASAP and iterate on it, because
so
when you talk about like conversion from like, hey, I want to do this to signing up is 100%. That number is like, that does not matter, right? The actual only number that matters is once students start testing beta, how many of them are still using a month later? And
I think you're absolutely right. And so that's exactly why we plan to release our MVP on July 3rd and get a lot of feedback from our beta testers and iterate based on that and release whatever features that they want to see.
Tell you for a matter of fact that hiring external developers is not going to work, just because I have seen whether for-profit or non-profit doing it. They think they can. The problem with external developers, they always take longer, 2x, 3x, 5x longer than you expect them to do things. And they always cost way more than you like initially thought. So like not do external developers, get students like, and just release the MVP very fast.
Yeah.
Maybe I could come in on that one, because I rather agree with Harry. So first of all, let me echo what Jenk said. I think you're on the nail here with your idea. It was very well presented, very cogent, and I think quite a compelling proposition. So well done on the pitch. My question or comment was going to be, if you can find a way of doing the development without spending $200,000, it would be great. And I think you could. Yes. Certainly in the UK here, we quite often have developers who will develop the product for you, but in return for taking, let's say, 10% of the equity of the business. Now, in this case, of course, I think you're a social enterprise, not an enterprise in the for-profit sense. So you may need to find someone for whom this mission is adjacent. So if you think about someone like in the UK, it would be someone like Unidays, which is a marketing organization that does special offers for students. When you arrive at university, you get a discount card, kind of all the things you need to buy when you're at university, or perhaps some student editorial like Student Pages magazine, which I think is the leading UK student magazine. I don't know what the US equivalents are, but some of these organizations, to get access to the sort of base of activists that you're going to build over time, might well do this for nothing for you, or at least do it at a very much reduced cost. It'd probably be also quicker because they've done it, N times before, and scale at speed here is an advantage. So that would be it's a sort of a question and partly a suggestion.
Absolutely. We actually are in contact with a few different organizations, exactly like you mentioned, such as like Code for Good, which essentially provide programmers that want to dedicate their time to a social enterprise in terms of like their tech talent. Mostly the motivation behind hiring people is that we are very aware of the fact that we are going to go back to school and have to be full-time students again. We've taken the entire year to dedicate ourselves to this project, and time-wise, we won't have that anymore. So we're trying to set ourselves up in as many ways as possible to make this sustainable and continue growing even when we're not able to dedicate our full like all of our hours to it.
I do want to give David J. and Samantha Bolton, our two activists and mobilizers to a chance to ask a question if you have one for the team, and then we'll move on to Team Legislate.
Yeah, no, really great pitch, very interesting. My first question was also on the censorship issue, because I mean, if what you're doing, you name US universities, which is a great way to start, but if activism is often global, when you work internationally, you have to really be very liberal about allowing what you might not consider liberal views to be expressed, because otherwise you're going to lose a lot of people. And that's really, I think, one of the most fun things about working on global campaigns is allowing for we're not going to censor, and you can't say this and you can't say that, and gender neutral and God knows what. These are all great concepts, but in many countries, people are speaking in their second language. And so that was just a comment on the censorship, to just be careful of that. I realize you've been thinking of it. And then the other thing is, if you are thinking of going internationally, then there's the language thing, and maybe some of the other activists or people you bring from abroad could help you translate it, into French or Spanish, for example, for Latin America. And then I had another thing, which when I was listening to your pitch, to me, it sounded a bit like you had a mixture of Avaz, which does more email activist campaigns where they curate it, and Just Giving, which helps fundraising events, and it could be save the donkey, save this dog, stop abortion, call it what you want, breast cancer. And they've done extremely well, because what they do is a bit like Airbnb, but for charities, if you want, is that they take a % of everyone who fundraises on that site.
Yeah.
So my question to you was really, have you thought about that side of the fundraising? And then when you do that kind of fundraising, it's a bit like the ice bucket challenge. You get all kinds of people fundraising. They're not necessarily hardcore activists. And often what you find is the driven hardcore activists are not necessarily so good at fundraising or going out for beers or stuff like that. So I was just wondering if you thought about that balance between more casual one-off fundraising type activities, because otherwise maybe there's something you can do with Just Giving and pass them that way, but then that's how they make their money. And then just one other thing is, when in your pitch, the one thing that I thought maybe was missing from an operational point of view is when you structure, one of the ways that to help people to do better campaigns is not just say, oh, do you want to join this campaign or that, but in a way, how do you write a CV, how do you build a campaign, what's a quick way checklist, those kind of practical things that help people to be a bit more professional. So just a mixture of comments and maybe a question on the global and the fundraising activism issue.
David,
I'll try to be quick, which is that one really big challenge you're going to have is maintaining content. You have people posting events, you have people posting a lot of stuff that's not going to stay fresh for long. So you're going to need these activists constantly putting content in. And the way that there's a failure mode there, which is I've seen in Facebook, I've seen in Instagram, which is they're having trouble getting people to post content. So they take the most viral stuff and they just amplify it to everybody. And when you amplify the most viral stuff, the misinformation and outrage comes to the top. And so you're not going to be able to first of all, be really cautious about using virality to do that. And second of all, I'd think about, and I'm looking at the negative ways that TikTok does this, but there's an alternative, which is when someone posts something, how can you think about your platform giving them a good experience? How can you make sure that especially those people posting for the first time are getting an engaging experience, because that can help to show them what the power of this platform is.
I really like that comment, especially in relation to what Samantha was saying, because one of our main objectives is not just hosting people that want to see other people's resources, but really allowing our users to transition from people that are absorbing, people that are taking part in the bucket challenge and donating a tiny bit and interested in it, but don't really know how to break in, and transitioning them to leaders in their own communities that they care about. So having some sort of streamlined process where they're able to learn, and then they're able to easily organize a campaign. They're moving on to hosting their first fundraiser, and then the interactions between our users will become the content. What's actually interesting isn't just the resources being shared, but the conversations being had in the comments. And the conversations that come, what David always talks about is the conversations in the student center, the ones that actually have the meat of organizing. That's what we want to encourage, and that's what we want to build the tools to do.
Great. All right. Snaps, thumbs up, claps, all those. You guys have emojis, I believe. Awesome job, guys. We're going to transition right over. So for the Asmbl team, thank you. Please mute and stop your videos. Sharks, stay where you are. Team Legislate from Dartmouth, Merrimack, and Boston University. I would call it our New England team. All right, over to you, Michael.
Awesome. So Legislate, let your voice be heard. My name is Michael Del Sesto. Meet my co-founder Madison Gothberg and Executive Officer Jenk Kwan. Legislate helps citizens and community organizations promote their democratic voices by connecting them to their local legislators. Legislate is a database for state-level, citizen-created legislative drafts.
Hi, my name is Madison. Sorry, my camera is not working, but it's nice to all see you, even though you can't see me. Citizens struggle to navigate the legislative process. We surveyed 71 students, finding that although 76% wanted to enact change in their communities, many do not know where to start. Many young people turn to petition sites to get involved. Although these sites raise awareness about issues, only around 1% of these petitions lead to legislative solutions.
Hello, my name is Jun Chang. Secondly, we found that social media hinders political understanding and unity. Our research shows that a few key influencers on social media aggravate partisan bias and have the ability to sway public opinion and even distribute fake news.
We hope to bridge the disconnect between existing civic educational organizations, citizens, and advocacy groups with their local legislators.
Unlike petitions, legislation leads to concrete change. Legislate is the first networking platform that connects citizens to their legislators through bill writing. Think of Legislate as a Wikipedia or a social media for legislation. Users can support each other's bills by virtually signing, sharing, and suggesting edits. Team Legislate plans to work with existing civic education organizations to expand their work outside of formal programming.
Our two features are Legislate and My Virtual Congress. At my recent internship, I worked one-on-one with litigants without attorneys to assist them in filling out court documents. Throughout this experience, I realized the difficulties of navigating the legal system. Through Legislate, I was excited to find another way in which I could make the legislative system more accessible to all. The Legislate platform accomplishes this by providing a space for citizens to draft and post their bills. We will explain each step of the Legislate platform's bill writing process. Finding a specific challenge to tackle may be difficult. Our advocacy directory allows users to see the work of organizations in their community. Users can connect with these nonprofits and NGOs to get ideas for bills.
Users are encouraged to browse and interact with legislative drafts already on Legislate's bill stream and connect with similar proposed legislation. To create a bill, users will use Team Legislate's bill formatting tool. As seen on the slide, users will answer prompts on the left side of the panel, and then in real time, our software formats the user's bill on the right side of the screen.
Users can form research teams to explore bill topics and perform due diligence. In the future, our software will pair users with similar bills to encourage them to research together. Their work will be part of a data package sent to legislators with their bills. Citizens browsing Legislate can sign bills as on the slide to the left, and as you can see on the right, viewers can leave testimony or feedback with regards to each bill. Writers can use this feedback to revise their bill. The number of signatures and the feedback content can be publicly viewed and will be sent to legislators when promoting bills.
In high school, I was chosen to represent Rhode Island at the American Legion's National Model Legislature Convention. There I worked with my peers and state senators to draft legislation. Yet I have found that once these seminars end, students lack the resources to continue or publish their work. Our My Virtual Congress feature, as seen on the slide, hosts these model legislatures, allowing them to store and organize material during their convention, but more importantly, giving their students a resource to promote their bills and collaborate on their bills with their peers after the convention's end.
Our research shows, looking at high school students alone, 15 million citizens are of high school age. 3 million of them are already interested in government. So with the 3% market penetration, that would leave us with 90,000 users. With regards to legislators themselves, if we obtain 10% of all state level legislators in the United States, we would reach 738 legislators.
So in order to establish credibility with client organizations, we hope to implement an ambassador program, which involves recruiting students and professionals involved with legislative drafting and giving them the information needed to serve as representatives of our organization. Professionals will be able to support bills and help Team Legislate network with the United States political system.
Staying true to our social mission, we hope to provide an accessible vehicle that allows anyone connected online to draft a legislative bill. Our free version will allow citizens to post their bills with limited feature. Our pro version for citizens, educational organizations, and advocacy groups will contain additional features to enhance the user experience, including the My Virtual Congress feature. We hope our product will be adopted by private and academic model legislature organizations, such as the American Legion and the YMCA Youth in Government. Boosts, live seminars, and workshops will provide additional revenue. Running financial projections on sales to individuals in 16 model legislatures, we will net positive around 60,000 over 5 years. This low-cost business model will support the projected operating costs of our nonprofit.
We researched the competitive landscape and found that no other products provide a platform like Legislate. Legislate is unique with its educational focus. Additionally, Legislate will focus on bill writing competitions with scholarships to foster legislative skill development. Currently, no platform exists in which citizens can draft legislation that will reach the Congress floor to lead to actual change.
Our platform and team was founded in the fall of 2020, pitching at Dartmouth College's Dolly Lab pitch. Although we did not win any prizes in the fall, we worked all winter to further develop Team Legislate and came back to win the Best Pitch Prize in the Winter Dolly Lab pitch competition. Along the way, we were also accepted into the Tuck Magnuson Incubator and have released updated versions of our prototype.
So in the next stage of Legislate, we hope to pilot our product with multiple model legislatures over the summer to obtain feedback as we work towards our soft launch in the fall. And by the fall of this year, we plan on being incorporated as a 501c3 organization and begin launching to student groups and schools across New England. As we continue to roll out our product and expand, we want to continuously make adjustments and continue adding to our website. In order to accomplish everything that we have planned, we hope to partner with industry ambassadors to help build a bridge between our students and the professional world. We also would like funds to further develop our website, as we've utilized all the capabilities of free platforms like Wix, and would like to broaden our horizons within fields of our research feature and other user features. And lastly, we would like marketing expertise to market to educational organizations and individuals within this niche. Our talented team involves students from multiple schools and states. We have marketers, designers, and programmers all coordinated to make Legislate possible.
Thank you to our legal advisors and to the Dartmouth community. Finally, a big thank you to the LookUp family, Fergus Cullen, Julie O'Brien, Susan Reynolds, and many other people for their guidance, support, and experience over the last 6 months. Our team looks forward to continuing working with LookUp to create a healthy and academic environment online for young people. We hope other LookUp innovators and advocates will utilize our platform to push forward their legislation and their initiatives. So join us at Team Legislate at teamlegislate.org or at Team Legislate on social media to initiate educational and nonpartisan discussions between citizens and their local legislators. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. We're going to go into the Q&A. We have 7 minutes for the Sharks to jump right in, ask some questions.
So I can start on this one. One place where this could be really interesting to apply is in all of the legislation, the federal legislation that is moving. I know you're aiming at state legislation, but the federal legislation that is moving around large tech companies right now, especially legislation that's focused on young people, because there's a really big need for things like the KIDS Act and some of the privacy bills to have youth input. I think about organizations like Fair Play, formerly the Center for Commercial Free Childhood, who are looking for ways to aggregate input from young people on the language of legislation so that it can be presented to legislatures. And I think that core direction that comes up for me when looking at this is, I think you've sort of imagined it as draft bills that come and then they move to Congress. And I think they move to legislatures, and something that partners with advocacy organizations who are pushing forward existing legislation that allows them to mobilize their community to provide input on that legislation feels like it'll have more political momentum behind it. And it also opens up a new business model because those advocacy organizations are already investing a lot in pushing forward this legislation. So I'm curious about your thoughts on the balance between those paths.
Yeah, definitely. So we were thinking of starting quite small, doing that state level, really focusing on college and high school students, building a network there, because we realized that, sort of like your comments on the last team, we really need people to be putting content into the site in order to enhance the experience. So we thought the best way to do that was starting small on those high school and collegiate levels, but then we do have plans to sort of scale from there, opening it up to all citizens, and then adding features to host federal legislation as well.
Look, I agree that politicians, I think you touched on this in the brief you sent out beforehand. I agree that politicians are very out of touch with the younger generation nowadays. I mean, senators on average are actually 23 years older than the median age of the people they serve, which I think is wrong, and I feel like that needs to change. Having said that, I do feel like Generation Z themselves are quite civically engaged, and I feel like it's just that we've adopted, I say we, I'm Generation Z, we've adopted a different approach to civic engagement that blends both digital and real life, which previous generations haven't. I feel like Generation Z is, think of it as digital citizenship. And I feel like gone are the days where you kind of go and join a political party. Even voting nowadays is kind of a foreign concept for some of Generation Z. But my question is for you guys, how are you going to enlist and maintain a working relationship with government representatives? And then a kind of second part to that would be, how can you ensure that they keep you updated and part of the dialogue before they kind of draft a bill? Because it's not massively in their interest to. So how are you going to maintain that relationship?
Yeah, so I have some thoughts on that question. Then Jung Chang, feel free to hop in to explain the ambassadors program a little bit further. But in future models of versions of Legislate, we do hope to have a legislator view specifically for legislators, so they can sort of gauge their process. They want to connect with students and such. We did talk to some legislators and people who have tried to push legislation forward in the past. And we found that legislators actually do look for students who have introduced similar bills to push forward their own legislation, because then they can say that sort of they've worked with these students and they've worked with people in the community to formulate this bill, and that strengthens their own work. And so when we met with some folks at the YMCA Youth in Government, and they said not many of their students' bills have gone forward, but when some bills do go forward, the legislators are very sort of excited to pair their interests with the students. We also hope to send data to legislators. So the number of signatures collected on our site, the testimony, the legislators will be able to see that. That will be for public viewing. And also our research team features that due diligence research. We can send that to legislators as well, which will just strengthen their body of work. So we're sending them sort of this whole package around the bill, which I think will incentivize them to push the works forward. Jung Chang, did I miss anything there?
No, just to add on to what you said, this is a real problem, trying to build a connection there, as it is with all businesses. And we have kind of like a two-pronged approach, because first and foremost, the onus is on us to build up our credibility. And the best way that we can do that is through the organizations that we partner with. So right now we're actually beta testing with New York Boy State, which is an organization that has already a lot of credibility in the political world. It invites governors, senators, it's produced governors and senators as well. And we're also partnering with organizations like Rhode Island Model Legislature, which, as all the politicians in Rhode Island know, it's the original model legislature in the entire United States. And then further from that, on top of credibility, we also want to make sure that we add a lot of value to the legislators. And as Michael talked about, the legislators really want to hear from their constituents. And if we can draw from that pool directly, I think that we'll be able to continue working with them in, hopefully an effective manner.
Okay, guys, we have one more minute. I don't know if we can have a quick question, quick answer. Okay, that's all right. We had intended to end about this time anyway. I want to thank everybody from session 1 for attending, our amazing sharks and our amazing teams.